What is nostalgia? You woke up early every Saturday morning in your PJs for your favorite cartoons. You poured a big bowl of sugary cereal and rushed to the TV to make it in time for the theme song. After the show, you turned on a computer and listened to the dial-up loudly chugging along. On Monday, you looked forward to going on your favorite scooters in gym class. One summer came along, you ran to the ice cream truck. The truck had character popsicles that didn't always quite look on model, but made you laugh each time. Nostalgia is a complicated feeling. We may look back on old memories fondly, but there is some sadness in them too. We stopped having gym class one day. Characters on popsicles also got phased out by some that we don't recognize. Dial-up was also replaced with fast internet one day, yet you now miss that loud dial tone. There's also Clippy, the annoying desktop buddy that was as intrusive as pop-up ads at the time. I weirdly miss that little guy, though I was personally partial to the dog that my older sibling introduced me to. He was also the one who told me that some versions of Windows back then actually had a dolphin desktop buddy too. My ramblings seem to be a little bit of an aside here, but I wrote my original script and felt like something was missing without mentioning personal experiences. But let's try to answer that first question. What is nostalgia? Let's talk about nostalgia's rather old origins. Folks may see nostalgia as a mix of positive and negative feelings, a word that's relatively new. But the word nostalgia has a rather long history, dating way back to the year 1688. A Swiss medical student named Johannes Hofer coined the word nostalgia. He wrote all about it in a dissertation. Think big college paper. The word nostalgia is made up of two Greek words. The first word is nostos. From my research, I saw different meanings of nostos, but mainly saw it described as a return from home after a big journey. Meanwhile, the second word, ogos, basically means pain. Back then, it was theorized that nostalgia was a disease involving animal spirits, and going home would be the only cure. Symptoms Hofer listed were anxiousness, insomnia, tiredness, and a loss of appetite. Please do keep in mind that this essay was done hundreds of years ago, and mental health research has certainly gone a long way. The symptoms Hoffman described more so align with symptoms of depression. Nostalgia, on the other hand, is something that is separate and is seen as mostly positive. So if nostalgia had a different meaning back then, what does it mean now in the modern day? Nostalgia is described by Merriam-Webster as a desire to return to the past. The reality is that we can never go back in time to those moments. So why do we want to? Looking back on positive events and memories is quite empowering. Research on nostalgia does suggest that it brings people together. It makes us feel closer when we're all apart. It also suggests that nostalgia is a social emotion, and that is where we segue back into personal experiences. I showed Blockbuster earlier in this video and do remember excitedly going with my mom and browsing the shelves. This was before streaming, so finding that specific movie was a rare treat. And we can't forget some of the childhood classics, like that random street and car rug that almost every 90s and 2000s kid seemed to have. Maybe even the McDonald's play places. I actually got stuck in a ball pit as a child, and that was actually quite terrifying, but looking back, it was quite a funny highlight in my childhood. I also remember having a major hyperfixation on that very specific bicycle ride from Chuck E. Cheese's and going on it over and over and over again. And can we talk about the Scholastic book fairs? Oh my gosh, the Scholastic book fairs. That was one of my favorite things in the world growing up. I wanted to stay in that gymnasium for almost the entire day and look at almost every single book cover to cover, especially the books about animals like dolphins, because that was a big interest of mine growing up. I feel like dolphins was a big thing in like the late 90s or 2000s. Or is that just me? Modern research on nostalgia does even suggest that nostalgia can help people feel like they belong. Nostalgia does not exist in a void or a vacuum. It is real. It brings us joy and gives us a clear path as people to our pasts versus to who we are now. But yeah, before I get way too off script and sentimental, let's go back into another topic: how nostalgia helps us get through difficult times. Nostalgia is, in a way, a comforting escapism with cute plushies and wholesome shows. But it is also a way to face difficult moments in life. There also were, and still are, shows that do cover difficult topics. In general, and regardless of the time, media is a great way to start powerful conversations. And yes, there are certainly times where the shows do get quite heavy. It is still very important to grow up and understand difficult topics. Things like grief, loss, it is extremely difficult. However, growing up with things like shows and books that talk about it, it makes it a lot easier to understand. Because whenever there was something I had a hard time understanding, I went to a trusted adult and asked them questions about it, and they were able to give me answers. It doesn't have to be all dark moments and dark shows. It can be moments of joy, bravery, and courage. And not to mention moments of comfort too, especially after a super long school day. I think one thing that I appreciated the most was seeing characters that I related to on TV. Could explain it as simply just being validating. And just how I mentioned that nostalgia is empowering, so can watching shows with characters you connect to, and the great messages you learn along the way. But here's the kicker. What I find nostalgic in this video, in this point in time, and even around my neck of the woods in America, may not be the same for everyone. So that is why this last part of the video will be about you, the viewer. Nostalgia can be a relatable topic, but I can only talk about so many shows and experiences in this short little video. So I wanted to ask, do you have any favorite nostalgic media or things you miss in general from way back then? What about some traditions you wish were back? I would love to hear about some of your own experiences. And as always, I thank you so much for your support. And remember, stay weird and stay wonderful.